My name is Michael Ray, and I'll introduce myself in a little while. But thank you so much for joining us and for spending a little bit of your late afternoon or early evening with us. We really appreciate you doing that. And we especially appreciate our panelists who have taken the time to join us and to provide some insight and information for all of us. This is number one of Notary2Pro's new webinar series. Our goal here is to provide 30 minutes of very impactful, very useful information. Most of these webinars are going to really be focused on one of three areas, either growing your business, expanding your skills, or just making work and life a little bit better for notaries, for professional signing agents. So we're kicking this off today with a discussion about growing your notary business. And we've brought two very special people on to talk about this topic from two perspectives. We have a very experienced professional notary and a very experienced professional signing agent representative. So as noted, introduce yourself on the chat. As you've seen, we're looking forward to seeing where everybody's from. And a little later in this, what we'd love to do is field some questions direct from you. As an audience member, you won't have the opportunity to speak, but please do write your questions down in the chat, and we'll try to recap those and get those out. One thing I do want to mention, we're really going to try to keep this to a tight 30 minutes. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, our panelists and you, the audience. And we think that, keeping this to 30 minutes makes it something we can all digest and move on with our day and our evening and our lives. So we're gonna focus on that. But if there are follow-up questions that you have, also don't hesitate to hit us up with those, and we may make that a topic of a future presentation. So,
Michael, what they might want to do too is if they do have questions, maybe make it easier is go ahead and just, if they can, send it to me directly.
Sure.
In the chat, and then that way I can kind of keep track. I don't want to miss anybody.
Yep, absolutely. So let me introduce our panelists. And Barbara, let's make sure that everybody, Julie and Andrea, are not muted. I see the little muted microphone. I don't know if that's something you guys do or we do, but I don't want to take any chances. So first of all, I keep hitting the mouse button there. So first of all, we have Julie Winkel. Julie is with Signature Closers. She's been there for over 6 years, and that's great experience. She's was a closing coordinator and kind of managed all aspects of the closing process. That means scheduling signings, all the compliance around signings, answering, I'm sure, Julie, I can't wait to hear about this, a lot of questions from notaries.
Yes.
Yeah, and dealing with all the post-closing stuff. And now you've moved into a new role as a manager of client relations. So we want to hear a little bit about that.
Sure.
Yes. Let me finish introducing and then we'll loop back, okay?
Okay.
So I think Julie's got some terrific insight for all of us. As an employer, as somebody who hires notaries and manages notaries, we really want to explore like what is impactful for notaries to know and to do in order to increase their business. Our other panelist here is Andrea. Andrea Douling has been a notary and a professional signing agent for over 10 years. And it's hard to believe, Andrea, that over 10 years because you look so young. But you're also a title insurance producer, independent contractor, and licensed in Maryland. And I want to hear exactly what that means a little bit later in this process. Andrea has come to our attention because she runs a very successful YouTube channel all about notaries, and her YouTube channel is Not Me Notary, which is an interesting title. But we want to hear a little bit more about that and why you started this channel. But Andrea really created this to really document her journey as a notary and to share her experience and educate the public and notaries on various aspects of being a notary and the process. And I highly recommend, if you've not listened to Andrea, tune into one of her videos. You will find it both useful and entertaining, fun to listen to. So thank you both. My name is Michael Ray. As I alluded to, I am the CEO of Notary2Pro. I've really stepped into my mom's business, for those of you who recognize the name Carol Ray, because we're really doing some exciting things at Notary2Pro. We've got a brand new website. If you haven't seen it, take a look. We've got a new course launching shortly. We're very excited about that. And we've also undertaken to revise our graduate website and a bunch of new resources and tools. Some more you'll hear about later, but very happy to have you here. So let's talk, Julie, first with you, if we could. And from an employer perspective, you, before we get into all your recommendations, can I ask you how you ended up in this crazy business?
It was kind of by chance. I always knew I wanted to work from home. I looked for work at home jobs. I had experience in customer service and managing teams. And I saw this posting and I was very persistent and would not leave them alone.
Okay.
Eventually they took a chance on me. I had no title experience to start. And I actually took the Notary2Pro course when I first got hired. And that's kind of how I just built from there, and they gave me a chance and it's worked out.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's awesome. Awesome story. And it's worked out. You're happy with this as a career?
Yes. Yep. For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. Having no title experience starting out, I've learned a lot.
Learned a lot.
Yes.
What was your background? Customer experience, customer management before this?
I had worked in actually college admissions and in hospitality, managing roles in both of those. So customer service based.
Nice. And Julie, you've prepared a few kind of talking points, but I want to make this an open conversation. What would you like to share in terms of, from your perspective, the big things that notaries should be doing to increase their business, be successful in getting signings?
Well, I work in email pretty much all day, fielding questions from notaries, title, loan officers sometimes. So I'm on the front line. I get the notary questions in the middle of the signing. So communication is key. I mean, if there's an issue with the signing, we need to know about it. Successful, that's great to know. Keep in touch with not only us, but look at your confirmation, see if there's title contact information, reach out to them. Let us know that the signing has been completed. So just all around the signing, beginning to end, just follow through and communicate. If something goes wrong and we don't know about it, that's where problems start. And that's where post-closing issues begin. So as long as we know about it, we can help find a solution during the closing.
Okay. Andrea, I'm watching your face as Julie's talking, and she said communication and your head started nodding. Why does that hit home for you?
Because it absolutely, and it's one of the things that I was actually going to mention, that communication from the beginning to the end is key. Your most important signing is the one that you're in at that very moment. And so communicating with the signing company, confirming the appointment from the beginning, calling if there's any issues, or emailing during the process, communicating that the signing was successful, sometimes even communicating after they've received the documents to ensure that everything was perfect and to their expectation. Communication is definitely the key.
Yes.
Julie, I think you guys are on the same wavelength. Do you always see that kind of communication? What areas do you think that, in your experience, notaries should really focus on doing best in this area?
Overbooking. That's a big thing that we see a lot. Not leaving enough time in between appointments. So letting the signer know, hey, I may be running late, instead of waiting until the time of the appointment to say, hey, I'm not going to be there on time. because then that's when we hear about it as the vendor, and then it just trickles down into an escalated type of file. So you want to make sure you don't overbook yourself.
Mhm.
Account for traffic, late documents, revised documents, because that happens pretty much on every file. So as long as the signer themselves is in the loop, you can let us know after the signer knows, but always let the signer know what's going on.
Okay. And Andrea, there are issues that come up in signings, right? How do you plan for that as a notary? Like, how do you anticipate that kind of thing?
Well, sometimes it's hard to plan, to be honest, but you have to be able to just roll with whatever is given to you.
Mhm.
So sometimes signings have to be adjourned early because numbers and figures aren't exactly right, or sometimes you're working with the elderly, or you're working with someone who has, you know, some problem and they're not able to, like, especially with the elderly, you really have to work with them a lot. And oftentimes that appointment takes a little bit more time. And so Julie's absolutely right. You have to allot for a signing taking longer than you anticipate. So you just kind of roll with the punches and keep everyone in the loop. For example, if a signing takes longer than you anticipate and you have several other appointments scheduled, like Julie said, you need to call and let the people know early rather than later so that they can tell you whether they can accommodate that change or whether you unfortunately have to call the company and have to you have to be reassigned. The signer has to be reassigned. So you just kind of roll with the punches as they come.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them.
Yes.
We hear all day long, but I mean, there are things that the notaries have no control over, and we understand that. I mean, they can't discuss figures and, you know, loan amounts and those types of things. So a lot of times signings do have to stop in the middle, and I mean, it's only so much that they can do.
Right.
Yeah.
And Andrea, how much communication are you doing in advance of the signing? What does that look like for you?
So in advance, I'm obviously confirming the appointment. So I'm getting a feel for the signers. I'm getting a feel for how they are. Are they super nice and they are, you know, or are they going to be firm and just hurry up and sign? You kind of get that impression. And that also kind of helps me walk through their door, if that makes sense. People ask me all the time, are you uncomfortable going to these people's homes? And no, after I've spoken with them and confirmed the appointment, I am not uncomfortable at all. But like you said, also with the communication with the signing company as well, knowing that they have our backs. If there are issues that arise, we can call them. Every now and then, there are situations where it seems like you can't get a hold of anyone. And if it's that type of situation, then we have to try to roll with it. If it's something that we can point to on the documents and talk to them, okay, this is your interest rate, yada, yada. But if it's something we can't, and the bars are saying, well, I can't sign these documents, then, and you can't get a hold of anyone, then you just have to say, okay, well, I'm sorry, I can't fulfill this for you. I'll let the signing companies know, because sometimes that does happen. You can't get a hold of anyone. Because clearly, I imagine Julie is super busy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I was going to touch on that also. There's only so many contacts that we have that the notaries don't have themselves. So they can email us and say, I've called title, I've emailed title, can you try to reach title? And a lot of the times all we can do is just email title and express our concern. Hey, the notary's at the signing, the signers have questions, they can't reach the loan officer, they've been trying you. But on our end, we're pretty much doing at the will of title also. So we can't ourselves as a vendor answer any title specific or lender specific questions either. So we're kind of the same role as the notary with that. So.
But it helps you to know what is going on.
Oh, for sure, because we can note files. So if something were to come back post close, which we've seen before, title may say the notary missed this, but the notary called us or emailed us and let us know during the signing or after the signing what was going on. We've noted the file. We could come back and tell title, well, this actually happened. They let us know. And then title can take it from there. So it won't be an error. So that
Yeah.
goes back to communication.
Right.
And
And
Julie,
like
as
you
an
said,
employer, how do you remember who communicated, how they communicated, and how does that impact your decision on who you're going to choose next time?
Well, I'm an email on the front lines pretty much 8 hours a day. So I
Okay.
know these notaries now. I know who communicates, who's hard to reach. So just the people that actually reach out, you'll see their names over and over again. And
Mhm.
as long as they're reaching out for legitimate reasons and not just, you know, hey, do you have a signing? Do you have a signing? When there's processes on how to get signings,
Mhm.
then, I mean, you just remember the notaries who have really good communication skills and who
Yeah.
are going to close out signings on time, send scans back, fax back. So
Mhm.
we have our own little mental list.
Right. And it
The
does impact your
schedulers,
decisions.
right? The schedulers do as well. They know who's going to answer the phone, who's willing to maybe go a little bit further to help us out in a pinch. So
Mhm.
yeah, schedulers, our scheduling team definitely has their own little mental list as well.
Mhm. Okay. Awesome. One of your other bullet points here is willingness to be flexible. What does that
Mhm.
mean to you?
Take a last minute signing if we're really
Mhm.
in a pinch, even if we have to raise the fee and kind of talk you into it, just letting us know you're willing to do it to help us out.
Mhm.
Again, we'll keep a mental note. Oh, they did this one for us. We'll check with them first for another signing or in their
Mhm.
area. Even if they're a newer agent, we remember those types of things. Sometimes we'll note that in their profile as well. Being flexible as in the signer's requesting a whole new time now, having to move your schedule around. If that's something you can do, I mean, we appreciate that. And I know the signer and the title agencies do too.
Yeah. It's not always easy, is it, Andrea?
it's not, but I try to be as flexible as I possibly can. I mean, I've gone to borrowers' homes as late as 11:30 at night.
Mhm.
So I try to be flexible. It's not easy. And then sometimes the borrowers aren't flexible. So that kind of, for example, if documents are late and then by the time I get them, they're like, oh, well, I'm now out to dinner, or I'm this, or I'm that. Like sometimes it doesn't pan out, but we try, as a notary, we really need to be flexible if we can.
Mhm. Yes,
Yeah.
late documents definitely is a reason why you need to be flexible, because especially this past year or so, with just how many refinances we've done, documents are rarely on time.
Mhm.
And I hate to say it, but they're very backed up.
Yeah. And I think these days more so than normal,
Mhm.
my sense, because of
Mhm.
the way things are working in our
Right.
little lockdown COVID world. It
Mhm.
seems like. Yeah. Okay. I'll pick up on another one of your bullet points, and this
Mhm.
one is a little vague. So I'm going to
Okay.
ask you to dig into this one. It's set yourself apart. What
Yeah.
do you mean by that? And how
So,
have you seen notaries set themselves apart?
so this past year with COVID, we've
Mhm.
seen notaries pack card tables in their car just in case they get to a signing that they've, for example, already previously confirmed will be indoors. The signer says, no, I can't do it indoors. I told you I had to be outdoors. We've had notaries bring portable tables and chairs with them just to be able to accommodate these wacky type of last minute requests that may not have been known beforehand.
Yeah.
We've seen notaries with mobile printers, scanners in their trunks. So with the revised documents, they're able to just not have to travel back home or to their office,
Bring them on the
just be able to
spot.
get it done right there, even sometimes during the signing.
Those are really creative solutions. Andrea,
Make it
are
work.
you carrying a table in your car or?
No, but I tell you, I have one in my cart on Amazon.
Oh, there we go.
But
You're welcome.
like I've had appointments in cars, on top of hoods, in restaurants. I love the restaurants
Yeah.
when because it makes things a little bit easier.
Mhm.
But yeah, you do what you need to do to accommodate the signers.
Yeah.
Right. And to send the more generic or general question about how do you set yourself apart, Andrea, this might be a good point to talk about your YouTube channel just for a little bit, because it really does set you apart. But and maybe after you talk about that for us a little bit, could you share maybe some of the things you've done in your career to set yourself apart and make sure that these signing agencies and title companies remember you and leverage you going forward?
Yes, so starting off, you mentioned my YouTube channel. I do have a YouTube channel, Not Me Notary. And I came up with that name simply because one day I was actually cleaning my house. I was sweeping the floor, and I just was thinking about all the things that transpired in the year and how it didn't dawn on me that this profession was going to change my life the way it did. So I'm cleaning, and all of these questions came through my head. Did you know that this business was going to be successful? No, not me. Did you know that you were going to do so well and actually be good at it? No, not me. And so all of these questions kept coming through. And each time the answer was not me. And then Not Me Notary just came to my head. And so that's why I named it that.
Okay. But it turned out it was you.
But I certainly didn't think it was me. And so I try to let people see that, yeah, you don't, like, some people can be really down on themselves, like I was when I first started, scared to death, had no idea what was going to happen with being a loan signing agent. When I took Carol's course, I had no idea, like, I knew nothing about real estate. I didn't even know what a refinance was. So like, not having any background in real estate, I thought that I couldn't possibly be successful in this. What on earth am I thinking about? But the channel, I try to tell people, yeah, you might not have the background for it, but please believe you can do it and be successful at it.
That's such a great message, Andrea, to really encourage people, especially newer folks, along this path, because I know that's a big reason my mom started this course. Is she saw so many people who were forced into retirement and or had lost jobs, and she realized this was a great way for people to make a good income, and she wanted to share that knowledge with others. So seeing you do that is just awesome. So going back to, what are the things that you've done in your now long career as a signing agent to set yourself apart to folks like Julie? Like, what do you do?
So number one, we've already hit on communication. You communicate and you do that professionally. Like, even when you're at the table, no one wants a loan signing agent who's just, okay, this is this. This is this, this is the, after a while that gets kind of boring. So actually you're going through these documents, create it almost as a conversation while still getting the job done, or just being personable. The other thing is I market direct. So I go into the title companies, I go into the escrow offices, I drop off business cards. I let them know that, hey, I'm here if you need me. In my area, they say that a lot of the title companies have in-house notaries. Well, that's great, but there are some people that can only sign documents 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. I'm here for you if you need me. I'll drop off goodies. Also, like we've already mentioned, just be very flexible. And oftentimes I end up getting repeat customers, if we can say that. For example, you can refinance every 6 months. I've had quite a few people say, hey, I want the last person that was here at my home, and I'll give them my business card if they need regular general notary work. But sometimes they'll actually look for my business card and say, I want that person, only because in my mind, and according to them, I did a good job. The other thing is I try to make sure that I have absolutely no mistakes. So I am in at least 20 different Facebook groups. And there's a saying, a bought lesson is a taught lesson. Well, I don't want to learn a lesson because I made a mistake. So I'm in those groups, and I don't say much, but I look at the Facebook groups and I learn so much just from the mistakes that other people have made to ensure that I don't make the same mistakes. And so that's another thing. I ensure that I'm trying to be as perfect as I possibly can be, so that I don't have to go out and do a repeat signing, and Julie's calling me saying, hey, you missed something.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
yeah.
and in the channel, I kind of go over a lot of things
Yeah.
that are typical mistakes that notaries make, so that hopefully they
Mhm.
learn for what I'm showing and they don't go out there and make the same ones.
Yeah, I've always said, you know, it's great to learn from your mistakes, but it's even
Mhm.
better to learn from someone else's, right?
Absolutely. It costs a lot less.
Yeah. Julie, does that resonate with you? 0 errors.
Oh, for sure. That's how you move up. We work in a tier system, so
Mhm.
more successful signings, error-free, moves you up faster. You're notified sooner, up the list. So yeah, you
Mhm.
definitely don't want title to remember your name for errors. You want them to remember your name because the signer had a good experience. The
Right.
signers will tell the title company, this notary was great. They'll tell us, we note that, and then we
Mhm.
tell our schedulers. So yeah, you definitely don't want to be remembered for one error, or we understand everyone's human, but if you're making the same error over and over again,
Yeah,
because we can see all the errors, and you don't
right.
want title to say, we'd rather not use this notary moving forward.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that I do want to make note of that. I had no idea that on the back end you all did that
Mhm.
until there was a signing that came through, and I wasn't available at that time. I was booked, and so I
Mhm.
said, if borrowers are flexible, I'm available at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
And sure enough, I got the signing, and I went to the borrower's home, and the guy said, yeah, they told me if I wanted a really good notary that I needed to move my appointment to 6 o'clock.
I mean, we noted, yeah, we
That's a
noted
great
it.
lesson to learn.
We for sure noted that. Yes.
Let me interrupt because we're right in the wind down. These things go so fast, don't they? And I could talk to both of you all night. I'm sure everybody could listen, but Barbara, have there been questions that have come up that maybe we haven't addressed? We might have time for 1 or 2.
Just the only one that you kind of touched on it was how do you become a preferred LSA for the signing agencies? And you kind of touched a little bit on that. And then the other one was you also kind of touched on was if there isn't someone available to reach, what do you do?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think we did touch on that, but are there anything else that we've missed? And I know I put up your bullet points earlier, Julie, and Andrea, you were very sympathetic to those, but is there anything critical that we've missed that we should mention before we close this session?
I can kind of touch on the preferred notary.
Okay.
That's where you goes back to setting yourself apart. Title, if they hear how well you did, error-free, they'll
Mhm.
request you on signing specifically.
Mhm.
So we won't even check with other notaries if the title agency or the signer themselves, like Andrea mentioned, is requesting you. So you'll be on their own preferred list. So we don't have our own preferred at signature, but the title companies and lenders do
They will.
or can.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Andrea, how about from your perspective? Anything you'd like to touch on before we close?
My last point is do not let fear stifle your success. When I started, like I said, I was very, very scared. Shucks, I was scared to create a YouTube channel. If you watch my first one, my first video, I am trembling. But like a lot of people say, well, what if I can't answer the questions? What if I can't do this? What if I can't do that? Do not let that fear stop you from doing it, because at the end of the day, if you never start, you're never going to know what questions are going to be asked of you. You're never going to know where to find the answers to the questions in the document. So tell yourself that if I don't start taking appointments, I'm never going to know how to handle those closings at all.
Right.
So don't let your fear stifle your success.
Andrea, I love it. I love your encouragement for people. It's very inspirational. I've enjoyed this conversation a whole bunch. Just for the audience, I want to make sure you know we're going to be recording this. We'll be posting this on the Notary2Pro website, and in all of our future webinars will be up there as well. So you'll have this as a reference. If you didn't get your question answered, or if you have questions that occur to you afterwards, please email us. Our contact details are on the website, or you can send us notary2pro@gmail.com. We can get these either in a future webinar or answer them directly.
I do
And
have
be
one.
sure to follow up with Andrea also on her YouTube channel. And I'm sorry, Barbara, I want to make sure that we're cutting this off right at 30 minutes.
Well,
To be
just
respectful of
if they can
everybody's
just,
time.
if they can
Okay.
just answer just one real quick, just because Andrea, you kind of touched on something. And that was, you know, going to title companies, but also you're going to want to make sure that you do have that experience behind you, because that's important too. Because I know that there's a lot out there that everybody says go direct, but sometimes you have to have that experience in order to do that.
Right. I don't suggest, my personal opinion is that I don't suggest going direct until you are very comfortable with the documents, and probably after about 20 to 30 signings, at least.
Great advice. Thank you all very, very much, and have a wonderful evening. We really, really appreciate all of you for joining us, and Andrea and Julie, for your time.
Sure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michael Ray, CEO of Notary2Pro. Thanks for joining us for this webinar. Be sure to see our website, Notary2Pro.com, for more information and resources. Also, don't forget to sign up with us there for great additional updates, news, and tools. Notary2Pro is the most respected professional signing agent course in the United States. Founded by Carol Ray in 2009, Notary2Pro has trained more than 10,000 notaries to become professional signing agents. Our graduates are preferred by more signing agencies because only Notary2Pro enables notaries to practice error-free signings. Thanks again, and see you next time.